Thank you, Paul Simpson, Commercial Director at Retrocel Insulation, for joining us today to talk about how sustainability can help the construction industry contribute towards the UK's net zero ambition. Now, first question, Paul. As a leading manufacturer of thermally proficient polyurethane-based insulation products, what challenges does your company face in prioritising their use? I'm thinking about the current shortage of building-based materials and chemicals.
These are huge issues that face the whole construction industry, particularly chemicals, particularly the petrochemical industry. This is all COVID-based, whether it be early in the manufacture and the lack of storage. The very fact that we weren't travelling around meant that petrol wasn't being refined at the levels that it was worldwide. And unfortunately, people being laid off. It's led to multiple causes of different products. What I would say is that we keep a very close eye on the situation. We work in close collaboration with the industry, particularly with distributors and merchants, but more particularly with trade associations such as the National Federation of Roofing Contractors, where we'll submit information so clients and customers can be warned in advance and take appropriate action, and make sure that there is as little disruption to the normal construction site as we can.
Do you think this material shortage poses a long-term threat to the sustainability of the construction industry, or is this something that is just a passing sort of concern?
I believe it's just a passing phase, and if it would just been on the petrochemical industry and particularly on our raw material, then I would have grave concerns. But as it's on timber and metals, even down to clay tiles, the construction industry is so strong at the moment that we're seeing an adverse effect. If we could supply everything at once, we would be doubling our efforts without any real action. The only consideration that we have to do is plan more in advance. So with things like metal shortages, roofing companies can't do the construction. So without the flat metal deck, you can't put the insulation on. So again, it's all about advanced warning, better planning, and collaboration right through the pipeline. But that has other benefits attached onto that as well.
So it's the old adage then: good planning, good advance notice. To use the expression, getting the ducks in the row is a way of overcoming this particular challenge that the whole industry faces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question, Paul, is again on sustainability. I mean, tell us how a fabric-first building strategy can help tackle issues not just concerning sustainability, but other issues such as fuel poverty.
The government has lots of plans to go carbon neutral by 2050. Something that we absolutely support wholeheartedly. And we're also associated with the National Home Improvement Council, which was set up in the 70s to stop fuel poverty. And fuel poverty is basically where 10% of your income goes on fuel, and that is increased massively over the last few years. The rising costs of energy, but also the saving of the planet. It's got to be paid for somewhere, and unfortunately, we always leave it to the weakest in society to pay more. One of the things a fabric-first approach will do is lessens the demand on energy. The infrastructure of the building is absolutely paramount to this. If you build well and insulate well at the very, very beginning, the efficiencies of the building are paid back well in advance. Whereas you can build cheaply and incorrectly, you pay the same amount, but unfortunately, the payment goes to the house dweller, who has to pay for the extra energy, which again pulls on earthly resources and affects the weakest in society, who probably need the most help. So that fabric first approach is paramount to stopping fuel poverty.
So why aren't more firms, contractors taking that fabric first approach? What's stopping them doing it? Because it seems quite a simple strategy to save money and to spare the environment at the same time.
The factor is that legislation doesn't insist that they do it yet. And that's slowly changing over time. The government are waking up to the fact that you can build cheaper at the beginning and get the client to pay for it. What the government are actually waking up to now is that if we do build back better, then people don't have to pay for it at the initial stage where it is cheaper. But it's like any commercial activity. If you can build something a little bit with less cost and still within the specifications and the legislation, then that's what we will do. But I think as an industry, we have to take a wider view and a more mature view and a leading view that we've got to build back better for the protection of everyone into the future.
Fine. And then finally, Paul, if I can ask you to gaze, well, not so much a crystal ball, but if you were in charge of, say, I don't know, the country, in terms of overseeing what the construction industry, the practices, etc. If you could introduce one piece of legislation that you think would improve the sustainable performance of our future built environment, what would it be?
Personally, I think the legislation that I would change would be a system approach and making sure that the systems are tested and applicable and that they fall in line with the other aspects of the building. And if I delve a little bit deeper on that, if you can imagine a building is just like a colander. You could make it all insulate all of it, then brilliant, but it's not a colander anymore. But equally, you could also claim that your colander is 75% waterproof because it's the small amount of the little holes, and that is where we leak energy, we leak resources, is in those little bits. And then I think something like BIM and twin modelling, where we can exercise advanced theory into the whole practical application of the building, and we can fine-tune and develop systems where we don't get the leakage, then we're building back better and we're building for the future. And that's the legislation that I'd like to
so do. Again, it comes to good planning design, using the technology that we're now in possession of, things like BIM, things like the digital twins, as you say. It's about using that to put the building blocks in place, if you like, to build the houses, the sustainable houses for the future, yes?
It is, and there's a word that's not very well received in the construction industry, and that's collaboration. And that's working with other manufacturers to develop these systems so they are sustainable and welcomed into the future, and make sure they fit and they do what they say on the tin. That's really, really important.
So we're still working in silos, is what you're saying. We're still not listening to each other. The building supply chain is acting independently rather than as one strong link.
That's pretty much, there's small pockets where we could claim that we're working in collaboration, but they're only in small pockets. A little bit more openness on the design stage at the beginning of projects, where people can interject and advise. And a term that we use in our roofing section at Gradient is value engineering. And that's been perceived as a negative because everyone thinks value engineering is pulling things out to make it cheaper. But really, value engineering is engineering it. You get the best amount of value. So we may make it a little bit more complex to deliver a cheaper system. And it's looking at from end to end of projects, cradle to grave, on the cost of the system, rather than just looking at the individual component prices.
Do you think we'll ever reach this sustainable ideal, or will we ever forever be talking about it? And do you think we'll get there to where we need to be?
Yeah, we will get there. Things will improve in my lifetime across a whole range of things. The world has changed so much. I don't think we'll ever get there within my lifetime, I have to say, but I'd like to think that we're all contributing to the pioneering of changing that mindset and making the world a better place, especially for the vulnerable in society. And I think the world's waking up, especially in big corporate, to the moral responsibility to what they have in society. You're almost chastised if you don't have that moral culture named and shamed, and the more it's encouraged within society, the better it'll be for everybody.
Paul Simpson, Commercial Director at Recticel Insulation, thank you very much.